Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Thursday, May 23rd. Almost the end of the week, guys. So, trying to think of the stuff that I haven't covered that might be interest to you guys. And one of the things that I haven't really gotten into because I don't know a super lot, except for it's expensive, is health insurance. Whether it be health insurance for you or your family or your employees. So stick around. Let's kind of dive in this together. Maybe we'll both learn something. All right, so welcome back. Got my coffee here. Today is Thursday. It's the weekday, and we do it Monday through Friday. It's available on podcast too if you want to listen to it versus watching the video. So the big thing is health insurance these days, and I can remember this was 20 some years ago, 25. Whenever I got disabled in a mining accident, and they put me out on short-term disability, right? And during that period, the mines see a lot of people don't take this into consideration when they're employed by an employer. Is you look at just how much you're going to make an hour, right? But you don't look at maybe the contributions to a 401k plan, the health insurance that they're providing you, some with smaller copays, some with no copays, prescription plans, eyeglass coverage. When I was working for the mines, uh, they paid for it all. And a lot of guys would, you know, bitch and complain because they would say, well, we were making more money at a different mine. I'd say, okay, but what about the benefit package? Did you have that? And since they were young and they didn't need really much health insurance, and they weren't thinking about retirement, they were thinking about how much money am I going to get tomorrow and the next day. They didn't. They didn't look at that as value, right? And you won't until you need health insurance. Because I've seen health insurance taken bankrupt people of where the lack of. And most people now, the small businesses, they may offer you a plan as part of a bigger outfit like Aetna or, there's a number of them out there. But a lot of times, you know, they're not going to pay for it. They'll offer it to you and so much a month out of your, or so much a week out of your pay, or so much every bi-weekly, whatever it is. But still, it's expensive. Even with them offsetting it, being part of a bigger group that's buying the health insurance, it's still cheaper than trying to get it on your own. And after I had done my stint on a short term, they wanted to push me into long term disability. And with being on workman's comp, I was able to have my bills covered if it was, work related issues. And I was young enough, so it was. But they came to me. They sent me a letter from corporate saying if I wanted to continue with the health insurance plan that they had, because I was still technically not. I wasn't an active employee, but they were still letting me Cobra my health insurance in if I wanted to stay at it. So at the time, I can remember is I was making like 15 $1,500 a month under workman's comp. And that went from someone that was making close to 80,000-90,000 a year plus benefits to 1,500 a month. And my cobra to get the health insurance that I had with the mines was going to be 1,600 and something. Yeah. And then I called them up and I said, how can I pay that? I'd have to give you my whole income plus another $100 that I don't have. And they're like, we're sorry, Mr. Edie, but that's just the way it is, And that is just the way it is. New York, give them some credit. They have a number of different plans depending on your income. And, and they take care of the lowest income with Medicaid. And you're just above the poverty level. You can sign on to a number of plans or apply for a couple of plans that are more affordable based on your income. Didn't have that back when I dropped out. But if you're researching to try to do a health insurance plan for you or your employees, it's going to be a daunting task. And for you guys that have already done it, because you're from all over the country, I'll be curious to find out how you're going about getting health insurance for yourself and how you're doing it when it comes to your employees, if you have employees. Amos, you're probably a good one from Texas, with having employees. I know that you've had a business. But yeah, that's one of the things that, as an owner, you really have to look at and weigh it out and see if it's something. I couldn't justify putting my employees with a paying for health care. I couldn't. There's just no way. And, we struggled to try to find a way, but there was just no way. And with Claude, he's been on Medicare now for 10 years, 9 years, something like that. So he's covered. But it's one of those things, they say it's a cost of doing business, but now it's made it such a cost that a lot of your small businesses can't afford to do that for their employees. And even a lot of the big corporate businesses are pulling back because it just keeps skyrocketing. And there's no reason for it. I can use for an example that my wife with her mental health, if she goes inpatient for 29 days, the hospital bill is almost $110,000. For what? I don't get it. So, in my mind, and my feeling is it your hospitals, your doctors, everybody else has been cranking up what it's going to cost you. And they've got it. You got to be careful because they got you coming or going. Because it used to be it'd be one bill, right? So you get the $109,000 for the 30 days. Well, now you start getting bills for doctors that are separate from the hospital. Radiology, which is separate from the hospital. Blood work, which is separate from the hospital. You see where I'm going? So they took even a bigger number and now they've sliced it up and they're saying, you're responsible to pay all these people. And what they like to do, especially if you're on Medicare, is if you get picked up by an ambulance and you take it to the hospital and they keep you overnight, normally that ambulance ride in that hospital stay automatically is paid for. But if they put you down as outpatient, now you are going to be responsible for that ambulance ride and that day in the hospital because they feel they can get more out of you than they can your insurance company. Yeah, it's all a scam. A big scam. I'm not for giving health care to everybody. I see what happened in Canada. But it's got to be better than what we got now. I mean, people can't even afford to have health insurance. So most people are just doing without and hoping that nothing happens to cause the need to have health insurance. Now, one of the other ways in our area that guys have gotten health insurance is like driving the school bus for the local schools. And if you drive the morning run and the night run, that's full time. But you're only driving like 6 hours a day, 5 hours a day or whatever when you go to get them and then when you take them home at night. Health insurance is included in that through the union. So that's a viable option. I know a lot of guys, that friends of mine, they don't do it for the money. They do it for the health insurance. So I'm going to start wrapping this up. It's going to be shorter today, but question for you guys, if you're a business owner, self-employed, how are you getting your health insurance for yourself and your family? And if you're working for somebody, do they include it in the benefits package, or are you responsible to go out and find it on your own? I'd be curious to learn more on it, because there's got to be an affordable way for everybody to have the basics. It's not a want, it's a need. And when you're younger, you have less need, right? The times when you're younger that you need it is when you decide to have kids, right? And childbirth isn't cheap. And either is the bumps, scrapes, and ear infections and everything else that go along with raising kids, right? So that's where you might see it when you're younger. But it really comes into play when you get older. And people can say what they want about Medicare, but at least Medicare is covering most seniors, but not enough. I've seen people get wiped out their whole savings account because they have a spouse that gets put in the hospital for whatever reason, and maybe they're there for a definite stay. Some people have nursing home coverage, so if that day comes where they have to, that they're not taking everything that they own. So I'd like to hear what your perspective is on it. If you're a shop owner, how are you getting insurance for yourself and your employees if you're doing so? Or are you offering, as a group plan with a bigger group for your employees? If you're a single one-man band, how are you? Are you self-insuring, or are you just, playing the odds and hoping that you don't get hurt? That's what most people do. They play the odds, and then they get wiped out. So on that note, you guys have a great Thursday. We'll see you here bright and early tomorrow morning. Put in the comments. I'm curious to hear, because like I said, I spent a lot of time years ago researching, and it wasn't viable. I just could not find anything that we could afford to give the employees at that time. You guys have a great day.